The Ugly Duckling. You've probably heard this story before, right? Maybe when you were a kid. But have you ever really thought about it as a powerful way to learn English? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to dive into this timeless story, explore its lessons, and pick up some really useful vocabulary along the way. So, let me start with a question for you. Have you ever felt like you just didn't fit in? You know that feeling like you're on the outside looking in? I think it's something we've all felt at some point. Just hold on to that thought because that feeling is right where our story kicks off. All right, part one, a different beginning. Our story starts on what looks like a totally normal, peaceful farm. But for one little guy, life is about to be anything but peaceful. This is all about a very, very different start in life. So picture this, a proud mama duck watching her eggs hatch. One by one, these cute little ducklings pop out. But the very last egg, it's bigger than the others. And the little bird that comes out, he's different. He's not small and yellow. He's big, he's gray, and he's kind of clumsy. And sadly, nobody thought his differences were cool. The other animals just made fun of him. They wouldn't play with him. This wasn't just simple teasing, though. It was a form of cruelty. And that's our first big vocabulary word for today. So what does cruelty actually mean? Well, as you can see, it's any behavior that causes harm, either to the body or to the mind. For the duckling, it was all that emotional pain from being mocked and rejected all the time. It's really the exact opposite of kindness. Can you just imagine how that must have felt? Facing that kind of cruelty every single day, all that loneliness, all that isolation, it made him feel like a complete outsider. And that brings us right to our next key word. An outsider. It's just what it sounds like, right? Someone who doesn't belong to a group. Remember that feeling I asked you about at the beginning? Well, that's what being an outsider feels like. And for our poor duckling, that feeling was his whole world. He just couldn't take it anymore. So overwhelmed by all this cruelty, the duckling makes a really tough choice. He decides to leave. And this kicks off the next chapter of his story, a very lonely journey. He had to get away. He ran from the only home he'd ever known, with just one single hope in his heart, to find somewhere, anywhere, that he could truly belong. But the bigger world out there wasn't any kinder. Nope. He met other birds, wild ducks and geese, but everywhere he turned, he got the same reaction, rejection. He was more alone than ever. And just when you think things can't possibly get any worse, the seasons change. The world around him becomes just as cold and unfriendly as everyone in it. His journey is now entering its toughest part yet, a harsh winter. The warm, sunny days were gone. Everything was covered in snow and ice, and the wind was just brutal. The weather itself became cold and harsh. And that's our third vocabulary word. Now, what's really cool about the word harsh is how you can use it. Here, it's describing the really severe, rough weather. But think about it. You can also describe cruel treatment as harsh, like the harsh words the duckling heard. Either way, it means something that's really, really difficult to get through. Yeah, this really shows his struggle, doesn't it? Surviving that harsh winter was a constant fight just to find a little food and a little shelter. He was all alone, and he was getting weaker every single day. Let's just pause here for a second. Think about it. He's freezing. He's starving. He's completely alone. How do you think he felt? I mean, I imagine he was terrified. Maybe he was even starting to lose all hope. This is definitely his lowest point. But, even the longest, coldest, harshest winter has to end eventually. Spring always comes back. And with the spring comes the amazing turning point in our story. This is the moment he becomes a beautiful swan. And finally, the world starts to change. You can almost feel the warmth of the sun melting away all that ice, and life is coming back. Can't you just feel the duckling's relief as that long, hard winter is finally over? So one morning, he finds himself next to this beautiful, clear lake. He looks down into the water at his own reflection, and he sees something that just completely shocks him. What do you think he saw? He wasn't looking at a clumsy, gray duckling anymore. Oh no. Staring back at him from the water was this beautiful, elegant, and graceful swan. And that word, graceful, is just perfect to describe this transformation. Graceful is such a great word. It means moving in a really smooth, beautiful, elegant way. Think of a ballet dancer, or maybe an Olympic ice skater. Or, just like we see here, a beautiful swan just gliding on a lake. And in that one moment, it all made sense. He wasn't an ugly duckling. He had never been an ugly duckling. He was a swan all along, just a young one. He finally realized who he truly was.
To realize something, it means you finally understand it. And a lot of times it happens all of a sudden. It's that aha moment, when all the pieces of the puzzle just click into place, just like they did for our swan when he saw himself in the water.
So, what are the big takeaways from this story? Well, first, it's about embracing what makes you different. It also shows us how difficult times, hardship, it can actually make you a stronger person. And maybe most important of all, it's a huge reminder to always be kind, because you just never know the journeys someone else is on. The duckling's journey was so incredibly hard, but in the end, it led him to find his true self. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. What journey in your life has made you stronger? Thanks for exploring this story and its vocabulary with me today. I'll catch you